Just by way of background, with the new borrowings of 4.28 trillion, it is expected that both the external and the domestic borrowing would rise up to about 38.68 trillion by December 2021. In fact, the IMF had estimated the Nigeria's debt to GDP ratio to be about 29% in 2019. Between January and May 2020, 97.5% of the government's revenue was spent only on debt servicing, with interest payment obligation amounting to about 1.15 trillion. This just goes to illustrate the high debt burden that the Nigeria state, bears, and the direct impact is now being felt across several abandoned infrastructure projects all over the nation that need funding. In a nutshell, the huge debt burden has reduced the government's capacity to invest in infrastructure, and this will, of course, eventually start to affect the attractiveness of Nigeria to foreign direct investment, as potential investors will then start to exercise fear over Nigeria, being able to pay down on its debt. The approach to managing rising debt profile for Nigeria would have to take into consideration the limited resources we have at our disposal, in view of the fact that we still have to make investments in infrastructure as well. So our solutions or suggestions will be categorized around 4 broad areas. The first speaks to using fiscal reforms to generate revenue and, of course, improve critical ratios like the tax to GDP ratio. The second will be having alternative funding to infrastructures. The third is reducing the cost of governance. And then the last one would be then to have what I would call borrowing renegotiation. Now, speaking to the first point, which is the using fiscal reforms to increase revenue. Nigeria could do that by increasing the VAT, for instance, and then harmonize investment incentives to remove wastages that are caused by multiplicity of incentives and corruption. Another could speak to consistency with removal of subsidies on petroleum products, power sector, and the likes. And then it could also be around stopping the selective waivers on import duties to aid revenue generation. And my best topic, which speaks to the PIB should just be passed so that it attracts more investments into the oil sector. Currently, Nigeria is not very attractive within the oil sector because of unclear legal framework and uncertainties in the policies. We believe that if the PIB is passed, it would really attract investments, thereby leading to increasing oil production, and of course revenue would then increase. And then another point under the use of fiscal reforms would really be to harmonize the multiple exchange rates that we have to enable the appropriate pricing of the naira when compared with other international currencies. Speaking to alternative funding of infrastructure, We need to focus more on public-private partnership to help deliver those infrastructure that the government was unable to deliver because of dwindling revenue. And then the third, I had talked about the reduction of the cost of governance. That really will speak to accelerating e-governance, and this will be done by the use of IT to drive revenue generation, to drive contracting and disbursement. If we do that, it will definitely reduce corruption and the cost of governance. And then the last is renegotiation of the loans. In this COVID era, a lot of loans are being renegotiated. In fact, I think about 40% of the normal bank loans have been renegotiated already. And what does that do? It helps give time to pay down, so the moratorium can be, increased, and the interest payments modified along when you would have those reasonable cash flows.